Okay, we're going to finish up the last part of the exam. You have an essay question that's 10 points, and then you have a reading selection that is also 10 points. So for the essay exam, you're going to choose one of these two essay questions. You're either going to explain the relationship between respiration and cellular respiration. What is the relationship between respiration and cellular respiration? You're going to use the words pulmonary, lungs, heart, oxygen, aerobic, fermentation, glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and any other terms you might need. You can choose to do that essay question. Or you may choose to answer this one. How and why is surface area maximized in the lungs and small intestine? How and why is surface area maximized in the lungs and small intestine? You may use the terms, you need to use the terms, folds, alveoli, exchanged, nutrients, oxygen, villi, respiratory, digestive, absorbed. Okay, there's other terms you might need, so choose one of those two and write about 2 paragraphs on those 2 topics, either one of those topics. Okay? Then we have a passage here and some questions. Okay? This is about Lance Armstrong. The questions are, how was Armstrong's training different from typical training as he was recovering from cancer? 2, what happens when your body burns energy faster than it can be made using aerobic cellular respiration? And 3, why isn't that an ideal option for training? Okay, so we'll read the article. On July 25, 1999, the cycling world first witnessed a phenomenon on wheels. Lance Armstrong. After 3 grueling weeks of unpredictable weather and exhausting mountain climbs, he wore the leader's yellow shirt as he led the way into Paris, concluding the final stage of the Tour de France, professional cycling's most important race. As the cyclists cruised across the finish line, it was more than a victory for the American team. It was also a personal triumph for Armstrong, aged 28 at the time, who had overcome cancer to regain his health and superb aerobic fitness. After that first win in 1999, he would go on to win the same race in 2000, 2001, 2002, and 2003, an amazing 5 consecutive years. Before Armstrong's bout with cancer, most professional cyclists trained by pushing their bodies as hard as possible, as many cyclists still do. However, some researchers think this method may be counterproductive because it causes a cyclist's body to burn energy faster than energy can be supplied by aerobic oxygen-using processes. During extremely intense training, the cyclist's body must use fermentation, an anaerobic process, to supply the needed energy. This process is not only less efficient, but it also creates a byproduct called lactic acid, which causes a painful burning sensation in the muscles. Because Armstrong was still recovering from his illness when he returned to cycling, he needed to find a way to train more efficiently. Instead of pushing his body to the limit, he began to train at a slightly less intense pace. This method allowed his body to supply the needed energy almost entirely through aerobic processes. Since his body wasn't producing as much lactic acid, his muscles didn't hurt, and he was able to exercise longer. That in turn enabled him to increase his lung and heart capacity so that his body was better able to shuttle oxygen through the bloodstream. The result was that Armstrong could train even harder without his muscles becoming sore. Okay, and we all know what happened to Lance Armstrong, so this article is more about how he trained. All right, so answer the questions. How was Armstrong's training different from typical training as he was recovering from cancer? What happens when your body burns energy faster than it can be made using aerobic cellular respiration? and why isn't that the ideal option for training? Okay, and the last thing is an extra credit. I would like for you to have the opportunity to, if you studied something really hard that you weren't able to show that knowledge on the test, on the exam, I would like you to tell me about that. Something we learned this year that you feel you're an expert on, that you weren't able to share that knowledge on the exam. So, depending on how detailed you get, that's worth between 5 and 10 extra credit points. Okay? So, good job, and go back and view any of the videos you need to, and have a good day. Thanks. It's been a fun year. Thank you.